please.
Such is life, CS la vie. Gracias, Zeke, Levin, and Reese, whatever language you're watching and however you're watching effing CS. We're coming to the halfway point here for day number 2. 4 more matches left, including this one, who will crown the champions. And still, Steady, Cammy, and Teak, if anything, that lead looking a little bit more comfortable. 70 points need to be surmounted by the teams in second and third. And then you got another 20-point drop-off. So realistically, like, maybe this game or next game, we might start talking about champions crowned and then the battle for second.
Definitely have that moment. The battle for these spots is the main thing for all these teams. They're kind of sharing games, basically, like who can play which game. Is it going to be you this time, and we're basically going to have half the points that we could all totally have if we had our own spots? That's the question. The caddy corner fight starts fast. This time Nate is going to be the one picked up first. Thomas HD is not going to miss him off the rip. Got the weapon, got the elimination. It is over. Savage also is going to miss a few shots, crucial ones. Not going to have any mats to be able to live. He's thrown into a completely different atmosphere, a different world. No way to actually build out from the backside. He has to climb his way back up. Benji's going to be there to help him out a little bit. Malabuka's going to start to run around. Is it already a 1v3? Maybe. It looks like it. Malabuka's trying to run away. No, his teammates are all the way on the backside. Kind of being a slower fight overall here at Steamy Stacks.
Slower fight until Benji decides to get wall-to-wall with that epic lever action shotgun. That thing is, that's going to hurt if he's able to get up in that situation, particularly once he gets this medkit on the effective HP in that regard. You're just able to rip through some of these early game engagements, but you can see Shizu Murstache and Malabuka do a good job of creating some space, and instead we see a little bit of a fight going on over here. 4ZR also rotating over, so people deciding they need Elim points and they need them now, Shio.
Yeah, usually Misty's kind of a ghost town. Some spooky noises of harvesting happening left and right of just one team. There's never really any super action dropping down. Clement, Floki, Deceptos have had enough of just being and lurking in the shadows. Want to take the game by their own hands. I mean, the last 3 games, if you have a backup plan, a plan D, a plan Z almost, it's time to break it down and get aggressive, get those points in. Doesn't completely work out for them. We're going to lose Floki for now, but that car is going to be there for 5 total minutes. They'll turn back to the town and see what's up. Meanwhile, that's Steamy Stacks. Yeah, Benji's almost wall-to-wall. We're getting there. The first shot will come soon.
Patience is a virtue. It's okay. It'll come. We've seen these fights happen before, and once they do end up resolving, they go pretty quickly. But one thing you've noted about how these teams, they've kind of traded games, and I feel like about like 60% of the case that's been true. We've also seen about 40%, 1 or 2 elims will be traded, and somebody just dips. Somebody just leaves, and they get whatever reboot they can, and they play it out with either a solo or a duo or just like a rebooted shambles trio. We've seen that happen at least 2 or 3 times from these trios, so not always 100% relentless and required to clean up the fight all the way, which Steamy Stacks is one of those places that if you decide to disengage, it's just really hard to stop you. There's so many different ways you can end up going, where if you break line of sight once, it's like, do I really want to spend the time chasing this person? Are we really going to cue the Yakety Stacks up here, get the Benny Hill music going on, and just like, it's not going to happen, right? But as we say, wall to wall, Benji Fishy goes through the Savage, is going to be the first one to go to Sam. Benji does end up getting in and gets obliterated. Just absolutely bopped right there. Malabuka doing a fantastic job in the wall-to-wall fight, taking down 2 of what are some of the most notarized fighters out of EU, Benji and Mr. Savage.
I kind of felt like a team finisher right there. They all edited and dropped down at the same time and landed the shot in a very cinematic fashion. I'm liking it. Still upkeeping with style. Even if these fights are kind of brutal, maybe frustrating for the teams back and forth because they will miss out on a game here or there. I'm wondering exactly how the caddy team looks. We'll tune in with Steady KMT at some point whenever in late game. They'll be low ground or in a solo box. We know how that goes.
No, we know exactly where they'll be. We've been over this, right? They will be on the southern side of the zone, a little bit more towards the central, in an area where the high ground isn't looking directly at them. Every single time. We don't need to look at them towards now. I promise you. We'll tune in. Let's tune in about, we can say 20 seconds after third zone closes, right, observers? We'll put that on the clock, right? 20 seconds after third zone closes. I promise you that's where they're.
Atro actually picking one up in the feed. Wondering how his off spawn's going now, where they're actually getting surge. It should be very different because usually they're fighting a team or at least have people to shoot. It's not going to be the case if a deal's literally not landing there, right? Hold on, we have a little bit of a time advance too. Not quite the third zone, but in the first, a little bit of farming going down. But yeah, my focus, I really want to see what Mitro's up to right now. I want to see exactly if Aqua has his game plan locked down. Some of those top two teams who still have one game, this game, a chance to contest and close the gap. If Teak's team does fall, trying to build somewhat of a last chance comeback narrative. And some other teams who are in that situation, Michael, Astro, Verox, top 6, uncontested, Dirty Docks. They kind of come from the same side. Teak on the top right, Flois, Hellfire, and Scram, who look very aggressive and nice on the day. They get in trouble, and here it is, Steady Cammy Teak. Teak a little bit lower. I think someone's finally answered the call, Sundown. He kind of put the Teak signal in the air. Someone stop these guys, and this might be the chance to hold down first place.
A little bit undisciplined on this rotation. They got very split going out there. Teak was a little bit far ahead. I was about to say, this was the one situation where the zone being revealed here, I'm glad we popped over because we are pulling a little bit farther to the southwest for what's really been the first time in EU. Like, unless we get a really far north zone, this should be the farthest side we're going towards Sludgy Swamp. With that being the case, most of the teams who are rotating away from the north and rotating to the docks, if they are a little bit slower and a little bit more split on the rotation, this is where they could get jumped on. And the fortunate thing is you're never going to commit to a fight in this circumstance, right? The team who ends up coming out late doesn't have any more of an advantage other than just throwing a couple AR shots that way. So unless they're able to really effectively be like, all right, 1, 2, 3, we all shoot Teak, which we saw there for a second, they're not going to burn a launch pad to then jump right down on top of them. They're going to be like, oh yeah, we got 90 damage. Sweet, that storm surge is great. And they're going to go next.
Will definitely be a little bit different. I'm wondering if we get that map shot up again too. One thing I do want to note, this is the yellow arrow team that's moving in. Teak's all the way on the right. Look at the way teams are actually set up in the map. Sometimes we're used to watching Steady Cammy and Teak go straight towards the center usually of the zone, maybe somewhat a little bit more south. There's basically a line of teams smack dab in the middle, left to right. We're going to be watching them rotate with that vehicle. They're not going to get as far as before. And there's a huge line of teams vertically as well, top down from the convergence, the Misty Meadows. I wish I could draw on this map. It's basically two security lines stopping this first place team from playing the usual game they do. And I don't see chonker tires on an IO car. I see a truck with what is it, Cammy riding on the backside. This is a much different game for that first place team.
Yeah, and largely, again, this is the first time we've seen a zone pulling this far to the southwest. We saw it during the pre-show, how we had that little almost pine tree posted up in the middle of the map, and we are keeping an eye in the bottom right-hand corner as well. There's our current second place team, just by 1 point ahead of Aqua after their performance in the last game, pulling out that Hellfire and Scram. So our top 3, Tiki's in the top corner right now, second place Fonada there in the bottom right hand corner, and then Aqua and Frustroki. We've seen a lot of in the past 2 games. They've played great so far today. Currently not shown on the screen, but this zone will close here. This will be the end of the first, and then where the second zone is actually going to dictate a lot, and potentially whether or not Keddy, Sammy, and Teak, you can see they are trying to get the Chonkers Tower onto at least some form of car that are going to end up fueling it up, knowing that the rotation is so key. Don't have the IO car, so a little bit of a less fortunate rotation, but adding the Chonkers is largely the bigger difference. Is Flonada actually ends up, no, that was Hellfire taking a bunch of damage to the bottom right hand corner, and we're going even farther to the southwest. Shao, this is a tough rotation for them.
Definitely, the south is definitely the key for all these Misty teams. Kind of doing a bottom curve might be the best bet to getting somewhere strong, and then looking upwards north, getting any tags you can. Steady Cammy team will follow the water for now. Slow rotating in. The majority of these north teams will have a huge cluster to deal with as well. Cars riding, this might be the game that they just confirm the fact that they're going to be these European FNCS champions overall. 64 points on the day. If they get 40 more, I think they could break 400. It's insane. Flois, Hellfire, Scram, a little bit of a different situation. They are inside the zone. They're going to control the way people move around a little bit. But man, the one thing that is kind of different with this pulling all the way towards the south and being slightly new, a lot of the trees have not been taken care of. The slipstream's active, no one's really farming them. They usually just skip them and go straight up to a spire like Aqua's team did, or use that fast movement to start dip around. Juice does take one of them out, but it's going to be so hard to actually see anything from a high ground perspective like Aqua's down to a lower base because there's so many leaves in the way.
Yeah, utilizing those side streams to just dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge around all the shots, but not a whole lot of farming. And also, it's about a 50-50 shot when you do get towards these Weeping Wood zones. Somebody's picked up a bunch of Fireflies and just chucked them around, kind of going for the Scorched Earth policy, saying, hey, if you can't have it, neither can I. Right now, we do have a little bit of a tense situation here. Hellfire, Flonata, and Scram wall to wall. It's no Riley, Janus, and Vadil, who we saw no strangers to fighting well at any point in the games. Whether it's the end game, last game, or early on. And as I say that, Janus just wipes Scram with little to no return, and it's going to be tough now for Flonata to fight. Has that charge shocker, but not able to get in a situation where he can use it. Boom, as I say that, does open a wall, gets a 115, but defensively really hard to fight with that weapon. And that was fast, Shio.
That's the operating word right there. Super speed even. All they did is just waited for Flawless to drop down to a refarm, interrupted that process in spectacular fashion. That was just so quick. Meanwhile, other teams aren't going to have the same luxury. They'll have to actually climb up to these bases and take fights one-on-one. Reason definitely has to. They were just below Surge before that elimination came in. Their first one of the game so far, really stretching the way. They have to rotate as well, all the way over at Craggy Cliffs. They're barely just that bony, and they need to get down to Sludgy Swamp, so they've got still quite a journey to go. One Elam picked along the way. This is also going pretty well for them overall. They just need to upkeep that pace. Once again, yeah, winning is huge, but getting yourself up to the highest placement possible at the end of the 2 days to really bump up the total prize money you end up walking out with. So that's exactly what's on the mind for Falcons. Duo rolling in here alongside Reason, and they're gonna really stretch out this fight. It's actually Mutual Milan and Arian who are on the other side from one way, and Axe Force is just hiding amongst these two God Squads trying not to go down.
Well, they also only had 8 damage above Storm Surge. You saw on the right-hand side, still Reason around the corner. Now only 58 above, so they know they need to get in zone. They thought maybe they could have been safe with that 101, but they don't necessarily want to have to deal with rotating and Storm Surge. They want to pick one and then have to deal with the other. So get to the edge of zone where you can then about face, throw some rifle tags, and worst case scenario, get wall to wall. But luckily for them, Sorcerer Special does end up picking up a little bit, some rifle tags being thrown over there, and I think they might have actually been able to get on a knock. It looks like they're trying to fish for the finish. Don't see anything in the feed. Some good tags coming out there. Again, we talk about Storm Surge. That's the mechanic that punishes the most passive trios in the lobby. 25 damage every 5 seconds. It occurs at the 3rd, 5th, and 7th zone. It will turn off when we have 70 players. Then the 5th zone will turn off when we have 50 players. After the 7th zone, it will turn off when we have 30 players remaining. So just keeping an eye on that, forcing the action going through. Right now, we're going to take a look at some of the trios who might potentially either be engaged or be underneath threat of Storm Surge. We've seen this fight a number of times where Cammy, Steady, and Teak just take a defensive fight against somebody who has to press forward. But it's Andalex and his trio who are on the opposite side of the wall. And what did I say? 3rd zone, south side, a little bit towards the central, Shio?
I'm just so confused as to how they passed every team in front of them. We were watching that map. They were behind everyone. This shouldn't be allowed. And in terms of the way they're playing, yeah, 10 points in every single game. It's huge for this trio and Vetlays overall, but it's more than 10 for Steady, Cammy, Teak every game. We know that based on where they are overall. And they're going to stop Forza or Analyze like squeeze on their walls. I mean, they're somehow facing up against a team that's low on Surge every time, using that pressure to get free Elims or a full refresh. Then they can make their super long base. I don't even know what to call it. We have to coin it some type of term, but they have that huge worm base, I guess.
It's the runway, man.
It's the runway. I like
it's
that.
The runway to the end game. It takes them off of the end game. They either put a launch pad at the end or they just chill on it, and Andalex is going to go down. But here, think about the reasoning behind it, right? If you're basing up in the middle of the zone in the low ground, right, and you're next to a team, there are 2 options. Either that team is above Surge and they're not going to fight you wall to wall, right? They're going to do the exact same thing you're doing, where they're just going to about face and try and throw some shots through something in the backside, or that team is below Surge and they have to push you. Either way, if you're the one who's there first and somebody opts in next to you, you're still not in a bad situation. Your worst situation is the team below Surge gets on your wall and they're taking 25 damage every 5 seconds. They're more than good enough to just fight this defensively, as right now Axe Force is one of the players being hit, so there could be a full another trio taking Storm Surge damage. He's hoping that 2 more players go down. He does have the medkit, gonna have to wait for the damage to come through because you have to be below 100 effective HP. We'll have the zone added on top of it. That is only a 2 tick for now, but I mean, it does all add up. Gets the medkit, is potentially thinking about a reboot, but with 70 players up left, if he does reboot, it's actually just going to turn Storm Surge right back on. 69 players left now, so not necessarily the best of situations to be in. So he's going to get whatever materials he can and rotate to. Oh,
I still don't think it's possible. It's going to be a 5-tick after this lock-in, right? So getting the whole team all the way there with the med kits, there's just not enough time. He's got the pads, but they're playing with gray pistols and just a little bit of wood, so it'll be trouble.
hey man, so you're saying there's a chance? I mean, about as much of a chance as somebody upsetting Cammy, Seti, and Teak at this point. We do have Jose Crow and Deoxy upset, and Cammy actually jumps down. He smells a little bit of blood in the water. He wants to get involved. He's going to create a little bit of distance, but needs to make sure he doesn't bite off more than he can chew. We are inside that top 24 trio, so 5 points has been given out, already 69 points on the day for our current leaders. We talked about it, how if we saw kind of that 70-ish point last game, they might have been safe, and now we start talking about how they go 100 points on this day in the first 3 games. I mean, that should be more than enough based on the statistics, but they've been playing so disciplined. I honestly wanted to see them try and roll out the most consistent batch of 12 games we've ever seen.
Even one slip up is not completely unheard of, but in this fashion, I'm not even talking about slips, it's just basically perfection in the way they're playing. It's huge. Now they're going to have a little bit of a tough zone to climb. Usually it's just, you know, running forward, staying on the edge of the circle overall. They have to kind of do a center cut here, and it's all vertical. So
Launch pad away.
How did Axe Force live?
You know,
never mind.
He didn't.
Hold on that one real quick.
Yeah, he sent right back to the lobby, got the little drone over his head. He said, you know what? It looks like you missed your teammates. Why don't you go talk with them? You got your 5 points. Congratulations. But his feet are no longer on the island in that regard. Unfortunately, eliminated away. But as we said, made the first round of placement points. We're going to tune back on in. You talk about them needing to make the rotation. They just burned a launch pad. They have no problem utilizing the resources they have. They said, hey, if you got it, and they have more than enough being able to utilize so many resources, and now they're doing what they do best, just trying to farm, look for shots, looking towards the outside of the zone and getting an angle. So we're going to get a little bit of a look, see who's above them. We do have my prediction, who was a little slow on day one, just a little bit slow overall, really looking to try and push towards the top 10 now. We see Jose going down. It's just going to be Crow up from that Spanish trio who started off so hot, but just like my tamales, going very cold now. You know, they're much worse when they're not fresh off the plate, and just having a tough time here, stuck in a wooden cone, praying nobody notices them. But it's not going to be good enough when Storm Surge comes hammering through here. 63 players up left. Remember, turns off when it gets to 50, and that will turn on in the 5th zone in 30 seconds.
Just like when you heat up food in the microwave as well, if this zone was a plate, it's just the edges that are really hot, right? There's no one really in the center at all. The convection, the heat waves aren't really making people move towards the center as much. That spot will be the most cold. Aqua CRR, Fast Roki. Gonna get challenged for hype. Milwaukee likes to do this once every 4 games. Maybe they have a contract to do that or something, I'm not sure, but they end up interrupting things all the way towards the top. It's gonna be a desperate fight for Surge, it seems like, from their trio side, and it might be good for Aqua CRR, Fast Roki overall, because 165 above will dwindle down very fast. They do get a lot of damage done afterwards, though. Jerky finally going down to Nebs, who is active, full trio up. It's looking good so far for them rolling in this game. Nice shot from Aqua to get Korok down all the way towards the back. They have another one to take too. Aqua really putting on the damage here. Full trio is actually working side by side. Steady taking out Clement. So another team falling right towards, I would assume, next to their box. Janice also is taking out Kinzel. Another nice low ground team is gonna have so much more room now for Steady KMT to operate if Kinzel's not there playing too. Aqua CRR, Fast Roki are going to be dealing with Mitro now. That's a very different box fight. It's not going to be, will they, might they? If they decide to go for the fight, they're not going to stop.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but I'm pretty sure they just both Reason real quick right there. So, I mean, doesn't look like they're necessarily too worried. 77 points on the day. I was talking about how they're actually a little bit behind Steady, Cammy, and Teak. But now with 5 eliminations, they bounced that delta back a little bit. But again, they need lots of games, right? They need wins, and they need big wins. As we flip on over to the low ground, you can see Steady, Cammy, Teak just raining the shots down to BL GXR players, being able to put some shots in. And this is something they do incredibly well. They just happen to pick up eliminations here or there, and they're up to 3 on the day as right now, or 3 on this game, excuse me.
Already have a ramp to kind of start off with. Already have that vertical momentum to go straight towards the top. And they find another one inside these boxes. It's not going to be their elim, but they might be able to get that refresh. All these builds, it's fine for Cammy to keep holding down as long as they get the maybe get their hands on that knocked body. No, it's not going to be possible. The fully eliminated Siphon is going to be a little bit in front of them. The Brick is there. I think Teak might have picked up everything in front. Where does the zone go though? In just a second. Are they blessed? Somehow they are. I guess we're on the final page of the script now. They get that free bounce. It's over a mountain though, so Seti's gonna have to start doing those vertical tarps. They're so brilliant to watch. Deceptos lonely by himself, no Floki. I mean, a little bit of trouble. 80 points on the day is still so good though. Aqua actually going down. Noah Riley taking out Mitro. A little bit of a revenge all the way towards the top side. They'll get that revive up very fast. And once again, we have Seti pulling zone. Aqua on height. This is another game in the Season 8 finals.
But we're already into the cascading placement points, and we talked about that delta and needing to shift. And despite the fact that CR, Aqua, and Festoki are in a great position, Seti, Cammy, and Teak are still in a fine position, and that's not good enough if they want to take over the top. So despite doing their best for that battle for second, they want to keep their eyes on the prize, as we're going to keep our eyes on a nice little wide shot and see what the rest of the lobby looks like. You can see how High Ground is waiting, delayed Noah, looking to try and go up and cut off a little bit. Deceptos is a solo towards the backside of the zone. Will pick up one before he goes down that 16th place, picking up just one additional point for C2S8. Seti beginning his rotation now, but Aqua looking to cut him off. That's the late pad from the High Ground, and they're going to try and take it away, building him off. And Cammy, Seti, and Teak, they're just like, sounds good. See you guys.
building boxes, just keep moving forward. No issues whatsoever. This is beautiful from Cammy every time as well. Just has such a huge amount of time, a long opportunity to get as many shots down as possible. Somehow actually ahead of the team now. They're actually going to claim low ground from multiple different angles, set up a trap maybe for a different team. They're going all the way down towards the ground because we're going down to the swamps, to the waters. Controlling low, you can become so incognito, it's crazy. You can surprise people just like Cammy tried to right there. They have so much space. They don't have the zone. Everyone's still trapped back. Haven't even made it past the bridge yet. This is insane.
I mean, the amount of waterfront property they have is criminal right now. Yes, they might have to worry about floods in a second, but I think they'll have more than enough money to be able to build a moat and keep everyone out. He's picking up more eliminations in the feed. You can see Shiza going down. The chop comes through, and Janice instantly gets knocked. That's the fall damage, taking advantage of him. You can see front side of the zone. We do have the Irish trio playing a little bit of a start here. You can see Festoki did end up getting knocked down and separated for a second here. They're on 7 eliminations, though, so trying to push the pace a little bit as Aqua picks up another one, but Cammy also picks up another one. They're just yo-yoing it back and forth, but it doesn't matter if they keep making an endgame shy out. That's another top 10 for Cammy, Seti, and Teak, and it doesn't look like they're slowing down as they have priority position again.
Low ground with 3 different teams. They actually got invaded inside the boxes and had a beautiful display of defense against another team just moments ago. Still Nebs popping off, Edison popping off, 92 points on day 2, just halfway through. Nebs finally down now, fully eliminated. Reese 11 broke it down. Every time they see a team, it's 6 eyes, 3 beams on the same target. They get deleted before they even touch the ground. Cammy, Seti, Teak, they're not fooling anyone right now, and they're just convincing every person across all regions that they're one of the best teams in the world. This low ground style of play, their game plan overall is untouchable. 60 limbs on Cammy, 1 pair for each for Seti and Teak. It's huge. They're at 8, almost double digit. Another player in their box. A big pump. Seti will be able to just confirm it fully. They're basically even unchallenged. Teak actually is going to be the cost of that. They'll explore the zone for a little bit and find another knock. That's going to be huge eliminations coming through. 104 points for Cammy, eating the cabbages. He's not going down just yet. He finds 4 more floppers and still has those veggies to eat. Somehow he is alive. They're not going to fail heal game this time. It's not a complicated mech kit. Look at the tags on a Festoki who's a solo. It's now 2 of the hottest teams going toe-to-toe against each other. Cammy and Seti are going to be down a teammate for now. Aqua's going to be all the way on height looking to just stop these guys in momentum, in force, but they're not going to stop them on the boards. The second place will be enough. A big pump onto Festoki. It's going to be Cammy.
No builds.
One-on-one, no builds.
No builds for first and second, trying to close the gap a little bit here, but you have to imagine second place will be enough. He's trying to find the shot. No builds, you can see Aqua 1v2, but it's not a lot of effective HP. Cammy can do it. Won't get the siphon coming out, and they deny it, and they'll be able to do it with 10 eliminations in the VR. But on the other side, second place with what I believe was at least 8, maybe 9 elims. Petty Cammy and Teak.